So just so I don't get confused, I'm gonna label the sides. Whatever it is on this side, whatever is on this side, and then I'll put a label on this middle so that I'll know which one is in the middle. Welcome back in to Grow, Gather, Thrive. It is January the 13th and it is about 9:30 at night. Kids are in the bed, so I figured this would be the perfect time to start some of my seeds. On my last video, I went through and showed you all of the crops that I'll be growing for 2026. This is just a printout of it. I just did it on a spreadsheet. So today we are going to start the broccoli, cabbage, our onions, a couple of the flowers, and a few of the herbs. I wanted to do something a little bit different this year when I started the seeds because I have limited space. So I wanted to start the seeds in these storage containers. And once they start getting true leaves on them, then I'll just up pot them into these 3-inch containers, and hopefully it'll be almost time for them to be planted out. The only ones that I won't be starting in the food storage containers are these bulbing onions, the red Creole and the Texas Grano. Over here on my right, I have this container of seed starting mix. I just made it up myself. From what I've learned, it's cheaper to make it up yourself if you can do it. So I just bought one of those cocoa core bricks, and I rehydrated it and added in some perlite, and this is all I'll be using to start the seeds in. Alrighty, so I got my 2 3-inch pots that I'll need for my onions, and then I got 4 of these food containers, which is pretty deep. It's about 2 inches deep. That's pretty good. Got everything filled up. Didn't make a huge mess like I normally do. What I'm gonna do first are my onions, and I'll be doing them in these 3-inch pots, of course. So I'll be doing these 2 onions. I'm gonna label first so that I don't get anything confused. Alright, got those labeled. Out of all of these seeds, my goal for these are, let's see, for the Texas Grano, I want to get at least 28 onions. So I'm just going to sow these right on top. These onion seeds are kind of old. They're at least 2 years old. So I figure I should probably try all of them. Onion seeds, from my understanding, the germination rate, it goes down tremendously after each year. So I'm just gonna use all of them up and just get some more next year. So those, maybe you can see, they're on there pretty heavy. I'm gonna do the same thing with the red Creole. And then I'll also sprinkle just a little bit of this. Then I'm going to pat it down so that the seeds can come into contact with the top layer of the seed starting mix. Use one of these lids for now. Just put a little water. those are done. This container, let's go with our broccoli. These are the two varieties that I'll be planting. I'll do 6 of these, and then on the Waltham I'll do 6 of those also. And I think in this same tray, since I don't plan on keeping these in here that long, I'm just waiting for them to germinate, and then I'll be potting them up once they get a set of true leaves. So I think in this container I'm going to do both broccoli and the cabbage. The way that I'm going to separate them is with these popsicle sticks. I'll just cut them to fit, and I'll just divide this into thirds. So just so I don't get confused, I'm going to label the sides. I'm going to put whatever it is on this side, whatever is on this side, and then I'll put a label on this middle so that I'll know which one is in the middle. I'll just kind of eyeball this. I'm gonna do one more. So this is what I mean by split it into thirds. Stick this down in there. Pack the soil in around it so that it doesn't move too much. There we go. And again, I'm going to make my labels. On this side, I put the Imperial label, and then in the middle, I put the Waltham, and then on this opposite side, I put cabbage. So now I'm just going to go through and make a few holes. Probably do 8 of each broccoli. Well, I'll do 8 of all of them. So I'm going to go through and make a few holes. And remember, this is just for germination. They won't be in here for too long. So they are pretty close together in here, but this is just so I can save space while I'm starting these seeds. Let's start with our Imperial cabbage. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 seeds into each hole. Now the depth on broccoli is about 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch. My holes are somewhere in between those two. My camera cut off. I'm not sure what's going on with this, but it keeps cutting off. I didn't notice that it cut off, so what you missed is just me putting 2 cabbage seeds into this side. I added a little bit of water on top, and then I just backfilled the holes back in that I made sure I tamp it down so that the soil will be in contact with the seed. And that was pretty much it. So I'll use these lids in place like a humidity dome, and that was all. I'm going to sit those on the heated mat, and I'm going to keep on moving through these. So our next one, I'm going to do yarrow and calendula. Last year, my yarrow did not do good. It kind of just stayed still, but I did have it in a pot because from my understanding, yarrow gets invasive. So I wanted to keep it in a pot. I don't know if that's what made it not do so well, but I'm gonna try it again this year. I'm gonna split this in half and do yarrow on one side and calendula on the other. I hadn't looked into it, but you can see how small these are. I feel like these need to be surface, so like they're extremely small. I feel like if I bury them, they won't come up. So I had decided that I'll do one side surface sown, and then the other side I'll just put a super small hole and try to get them in there. We'll see how that works out. See which one does the best. The calendula seeds are much bigger. My only issue with growing the calendula and the yarrow together is the calendula, it germinates in about 7 to 10 days, and the yarrow could take 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. So I just said that if my calendula start coming up and I need to take the lid off of it, then I'll just put some plastic wrap over this side, and maybe that'll help with the germination on this side. Let me see, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 seeds. So I'll just make, I think I'm gonna use my marker. I'm gonna come through and water. And again, add the lid. So we got our yarrow on this side and calendula on this side. Now, before I do this, I want way more parsley than I want thyme and oregano. So I am going to do it like this. Oh, my sticks are too long. But we like parsley, so that's why I wanted to do more parsley. And the thyme and oregano, from my understanding, they get a whole lot from one plant. So again, let's go with the labels. Okay, so from my understanding, these herbs, definitely oregano and thyme, should be surface sown, meaning just drop them right on top of the soil. And parsley, it could go either way with parsley. So I'm gonna try parsley. I think I'm gonna surface sow parsley too. And I say that because last season I had not one parsley come up. So maybe that was my problem. Let's see how small those are. I'm just gonna drop them in. Parsley, oregano, and thyme, they have the same germination time, 5 to 10 days. So these should do good in the same container. Now this is small. Those are teeny tiny. I also didn't get any oregano to come up. But I also didn't surface sow. So let's try again. And these, I'm definitely not going to water these with that water bottle. I'm just gonna wait until I find my spray bottle. The soil is already wet, but I did just want to add a little bit on top, but I don't think that's a good idea without a spray bottle. I'm gonna pat them to make sure that they're coming in contact with the soil. And I'm gonna come back through and water these with my spray bottle when I find it. Okay, got everything labeled in our lid, aka our humidity dome. I'm gonna set this to the side so I can remember to water. And last but not least, we are going to do a bunch of onions and chives. I'm going to separate this now, but for my chives, I came across a video, and what they did was they took the chives and they put them in a paper towel. Got a paper towel. Here, I'll use the lid. They got the chives, they wet the paper towel. And what she did on a video was she put chives on the paper towel. She let it sit in the water for 24 hours. But be sure to make sure its water stays in there. So I'll keep checking on this to make sure. Now hers, she had it sitting in a cup of water. But so she let it sit for 24 hours, and then she took it out of the water. She would squeeze the paper towel out, and then she put it in a plastic bag, and she let it sit until they started to germinate. So I'm gonna let this sit for 24 hours, and then I'll take some of the water out of it, sit it in a sandwich bag, and then just keep an eye on it. And then when they do start to germinate, pop them in here. But then again, I may put them in something bigger. I'm thinking that this is the germination of the chive, so I may just plant these into a bigger container. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just do that. I'll set this to the side. From my understanding, the bunch and onion, they like to grow close together, and you want to have like 5 to 8 bunch and onions in a bunch. So on these onions, and last year I had some bunch of onions from the previous year, and I did not have good germination on those bunch of onions. So I am going to mix these again. What I'm going to do is on here, I'm going to make 5 sets. Maybe I'll do 6. Yeah, I'm gonna do 6 sets of like bunches of seeds. Like what I'll do is I'll just sprinkle a bunch of seeds there and space it out some, and then sprinkle a bunch of seeds here, and then keep going from there. And I'll do that 6 times. I'm gonna put some of these fresh seeds over here. Can always thin this stuff out, but I didn't have good germination on these last year, so I want to make sure they do good. So on these, I'm going to pat them down some so that I can make sure they're in contact with the soil underneath them. And then I'm also going to come through and add some soil on the top of them. Lord knows I need to find my spray bottle. I had to get this stuff done though. I couldn't wait on a spray bottle. Alrighty. And we are done. This is what we have so far. Next week I'll be starting some more seeds, so if you want to follow along and see what we'll be planting next week, I'll also give you an update on these. If you're interested in this sort of content or just want to follow along on my gardening journey, please consider subscribing and be sure to turn on those notifications so that you'll be notified whenever I post a new video.